Meantime, all sunshine and lollipops in Ashburn. And this was Dan Quinn talking to the media yesterday as they opened up the 3-day mandatory minicamp.
First thing that I probably noticed is really the work of the players. I thought they've thrown a hell of an off season. We asked them a lot early on, create some standards together, and I've really been impressed by the work and the skill work that they've put in. From a coaching staff-wise, it was a great thing to hear. One of the Bill Walsh fellows that had been in here for the few days, he said, you would have never known that you just came together just a few months ago as a staff. Being around everybody, it felt like they'd been around each other for years. So that made me feel good knowing that these guys are connected on the field and off, because the players see that as well. To see a coaching staff that's connected, they'll feel that same example that applies to the locker room.
Yeah, and it's not like Quinn took a whole coaching staff with him from other places. He brought some people with him from Dallas, people he's worked with in the past. But it is pretty rare to see it come together as quickly as they have. Again, nobody's hit anybody in pads yet. Nobody's played a game. But the vibe is really good. And this happens in this town. It's been happening really since Dan Snyder bought the team. Whenever anybody comes in, it's like, oh, do you know how bad it was before you got here? You know, do you know what you have to overcome here? And Quinn has certainly been hit with that, and that's why he's taking this approach.
You know what? I didn't really discuss much from the past, and I wasn't here, so I don't have a way to compare into that. And so every year is different. So what I can say is this is what I've seen from this part moving forward and finding all the unique stuff that it does have. So all I was looking for to say, I've got fresh eyes, no bias on what happened or what could happen. I just want to see what your best looks like. And that's what now and into training camp is for. So that's why this is such an important camp for us. This is our last time together before we go to training camp. And I really want to see a lot of the learning, the technique, the communication, the speed. And then when we get to training camp, we'll add the physicality part to that.
How's the response been to that kind of fresh opportunity?
Like I said, the energy that you've been around, you feel the guys. I love their connection together, and offensively, defensively, teams, the way they're merging. This is not a separate country unto themselves. These are one group of guys, although they're competing against one another. Like, that's how we will get better. Days in like the next 3 where we get to compete against each other just a little bit, and as we get ready for training camp.
I've heard stories of coaches coming into new situations, and they do things that are the opposite of that. Like, everything you've seen from Quinn so far is positive. Things I have heard about Quinn are very positive, always looking on the bright side. As I've said, my nephew is on the training staff with the Falcons and said basically he'd walk through fire for him. He said everybody loved Dan Quinn. The problem was the team fell off after the Super Bowl collapse against the Patriots, and he lost his job 2 seasons later. But in terms of the way people view him, what you hear from him seems to be the way people look at him. And I remember this when the big turnover happened here after Richie Pettibone was fired after the 93 season, when they went 4-12, was truly the end of Camelot. Gibbs coached one more year after they won the last Super Bowl. They backed into the playoffs, won a playoff game. Then he retired in March. He was only 52. But at that point, NASCAR was taking off. He'd won Daytona, and he was looking to move to his next career. And so Richie Pettibone was the obvious choice to take his place, and poor Richie was left with an aging team that was trying to get under the salary cap. They finished 4-12. But he was beloved by the defensive players, and there were still a few left when there was a coaching change. Norv Turner took over in 94, and he brought in Ron Lynn as the defensive coordinator. And I heard from a number of defensive players that they were really upset when Ron Lynn walked in the room and said, "You know why I'm here? Because the last guy sucked." That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And what you're getting from Quinn is, look, I wasn't here. I don't know what happened. I'm only judging guys on what I see from them now. I don't know what happened last season. I was coaching in Dallas. Smart, I think. I think that's the right approach with all that has gone on here in the last 30 years. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Not even the last 2 or 3 years. And I think he's doing things the right way. Number one question, of course, is what do you think of your rookie quarterback?
He's very charismatic.
Nope,
I think he's
not him. See, that's
really personal when he walks into the building.
Terry
He just
McLaurin
has a calm
talking about him, and we will get to him. This is Dan Quinn on what he said about Jayden Daniels yesterday.
What's important for Jayden and some of his teammates, especially the young guys coming in, as the reps are now happening, how are you doing in the execution of those, whether that's playing quarterback or tackle or nickel or safety? And so the expectation is just to see, how familiar he is with the concepts, making sure, all right, this one we want to keep, this one, we don't, in terms of the things that he has the most comfort with. So I think just really running the system now. Obviously, you see us at the line of scrimmage some, we huddle some, so we've put in a big package. Now it's about execution of it.
And everything is pointing to Daniels being the opening day starter. But, talked about this yesterday, Kevin O'Connell, the coach of the Vikings, was on the Rich Eisen show and said, yeah, we'll play J.J. McCarthy when he's ready. McCarthy was the number 10 pick. Understand that. Daniels is number 2. Maybe there's more urgency to play him. But you also have a veteran team in Minnesota, and you have the highest paid non-quarterback in the league at wide receiver. It would seem like you would want to have your stud quarterback ready to play, but they're going to take their time. And while Quinn hasn't come out and said that Daniels is going to be the starter, it's pointing in that direction. But it would not be shocking to see Marcus Mariota start the opener. And if he does, I don't think you should go, oh, God, bust. Didn't work out. Yeah, guy wasn't ready. He played 5 years of college football. They may, and especially this organization, this does not have to be a playoff year. This is one of the few teams in the league that can look at this year and say, we can get real positives out of this if we don't make the playoffs. Because they're looking long-term here. And you look at what they did in free agency. They didn't spend a lot of money. They brought in a few veteran guys who can be leaders for the younger players. They hope that they hit home runs in the draft, but don't know that the second pick may not be ready to play because he's still dealing with a foot injury. So there's all kinds of things that may delay this team becoming good. But right now, they like what they see from Jayden Daniels, but it's possible. I think it's still possible that Mariota will start the opener. I think it's unlikely, but I think it's still possible. I'll tell you what's impossible, seeing Jayden Daniels pitch for the Nationals. Did you see what he did on Sunday?
Oh, the first pitch, lots to discuss there. We had a lot of fun and a lot of practice. It was actually my first time at a Nationals game, so it was a really cool venue to be a part of. So it's a good thing he's throwing here and not down at the ballpark.
Yeah. He grew up in California. And California used to be a hotbed for baseball, and if you're a great athlete like Jayden Daniels, you'd have thought maybe he'd have played some baseball along the way. Maybe he did, but he does not look comfortable throwing a baseball. That was not a great look. But he throws the football for a living, not the baseball. So thank goodness for that. So that was some of Dan Quinn from workouts yesterday, and they'll go today. Now, often what they'll do for the third day, if things are really good, to make everybody feel good going into what is now the off season, where it'll be basically a 6-week break before they get to training camp. They'll say, we got everything done. No workouts, final day. It's 3-day mini camp. We're just going to make it 2. Go off and enjoy your time and be ready to start training camp. And another thing that Terry McLaurin talked about yesterday was that he's noticed that Quinn has made sure to give guys proper rest, proper breaks, and expecting them to go 100% once they get on the field. And he really likes that. And once again, this is what coaching staff for Terry McLaurin. He came in under the Gruden, and then, he had the interim with, was he Callahan, so that's 2. Rivera, and this is 4. So it's fourth coaching staff. And they've all said wonderful things about him. In this case, this is like a question that's served up to Dan Quinn. The question was, basically, what do you think of this great guy, Terry McLaurin? If he'd have said anything other than what he said, oh boy, trouble here. Incumbent star butting heads with coach. So Quinn, who has seemingly said everything right since he got here, said this about what he's observed about Terry.
Number one, there's an incredible player there. I think for all of us here, we recognize how good a player he is. I wish all of you could see the man that he is. Like, this is a hell of a ball player, but behind the scenes, what he stands for, the professionalism that he has, the detail that he goes to get things done, a team could be really well set to get a lot of Terry McLaurins. And he's been an excellent pro for us than seeing some of the young guys, not just offensively, but as new players are here. He's got great standards about him, and I think that's one of the best things you look for in a professional.
I think he can run for mayor when he's done. I'd like to see him stay in town, even if he finishes his career someplace else, because he has won every press conference that he's done since he came here in 2019. And not surprisingly, Terry McLaurin has this to say about Dan Quinn.
I think Coach Quinn and the entire staff have really enforced not just effort, but the competition aspect of football. And we're in practice now, and guys are really, like, pissed off when the offense loses or the defense loses the day. Like, coming from, I'm far removed from college, but it reminds me a lot of the college days where you're just getting after each other. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think on the schedule it says Commanders play the Commanders, but that competitiveness makes each and everybody better because you want to be the one who's winning that rep. You want to be the side of the ball is winning that practice. You want to win in the weight room. And it's a constant mentality that they're driving home to where you always have to be in competition mode. I think that's the game of life. You know what I mean? You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And I think Coach Quinn really allows us to lay out a plan for ourselves, like for myself getting better at the top of my routes or getting better at run after catch. He sets the standard for all of us to get better and pinpoint the things we need to get better on, and then he gives us time before or after practice to get better on it, working with our position coach. So he makes the time for us to be able to work on the things that we need to improve on. But I just think the number one thing that stood out is the competition that's in and out of the building every day.
Mike Callow, season ticket holder for the Commanders. I asked this question, and all credit to Dan Quinn for creating a competitive situation. But why do you think this really hasn't been a competitive situation internally for a while?
Oh, it's the ownership.
Well, and the talent level stinks.
Oh, sure, yeah, of course. Well, yeah, of course. Well,
yeah.
They're correlated. There's a correlation between those two things.
So I understand where Terry's coming from, and I give him credit for saying that. But the reality is that you have far too few Terry McLaurins and Jonathan Allens and a lot of guys. Jags, is that what you call them?
Yeah, Jags. Just a guy.
Just a guy.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's the luxury of having competition at every position. That's great when you're at Ohio State or Alabama, or Michigan.
Sure.
But this team, there hasn't been much because,
the roster hasn't been good too. Bram actually made a really good point yesterday or 2 days ago on his show about how last year, remember there was it was kind of a blip and we talked about it, everyone talked about it, but it wasn't a huge deal, but it was a red flag looking back where, remember Eric Bieniemy was running the practice, I think it was training camp, maybe day 1 or 2, and Terry got fired up because someone made a weird hit and he was standing up for his guy, and Bieniemy said, "Get your ass back in the huddle," and Terry jawed back at him. That guy doesn't do that, and looking back now, it's kind of like he was trying to I think, get those juices flowing with everyone, and there was Bieniemy going, no, get back in the huddle. We don't need any of that around here.
Yeah, and that's, that was Bieniemy's first shot as real offensive coordinator. Yeah. And that didn't work out. And I have been told that had Bieniemy come back, that McLaurin would have requested a trade.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm not shocked, though.
I mean, look, remember the game where I think it was the Miami game, which I was at, where he was maybe targeted once, and he talked about getting his cardio running up and down the field.
Sure.
If you've listened to Terry's news conferences over the last 5 years, he just doesn't say things like that.
Nope.
So that was totally out of character.
The other one he did last year, too, was week 3 against Buffalo. A lot of people didn't talk about it. He did a whole little rant of, we need to figure out who we are.
Yeah.
They were 2-1.
Yeah.
They were 2-1. They lost to a Super Bowl contender, and he's talking about identity? Yeah, he knew fast.
Exactly. All right, number one topic, obviously, Jayden Daniels. Is this the guy? Are they going to finally find their franchise quarterback? You could argue the last one was Joe Theismann. Maybe you want to say Kirk Cousins, but is he the guy? And, well, I feel bad for Terry because, I mean, we can pull audio of him talking about, everybody who's come down the pipe here during his 5 years. And, I guess he and Sam Howell did have something going for a while there. But, Sam Howell is Sam Howell. But this is the McLaurin seal of approval on Jayden Daniels.
He's very charismatic. I think he's really personal when he walks into the building. He just has a calm demeanor about him. He's very approachable. So guys have no problem whether you're an offensive lineman, receiver, running back, talking to him, communicating what the objective is of this play or what he's seeing, what he's thinking. And he came in really prepared. I feel like when he was getting ones reps or where he's working with the twos, like he does a great job of getting the most out of the reps that he needs to accomplish. And I think he's going to be a really good player because of the time and the work that he puts in. Like, I don't think I've had a young quarterback that really has come in and within the first week he's like, hey, can we get this route or let me get this rep after practice? And so it's exciting for me because, that opens the door because, they got a lot on their plate, but at the same time when there's that open door of communication and he's not afraid to get that work in before or after practice or talk through things, it makes the growth part a lot quicker. And he's very talented, but he's extremely humble as well. And I'm looking forward to see how he continues to grow. And it's hard to pinpoint. When you're around him more, you can really tell, like, he's humble, but he's confident in his ability. Like, he's played at the highest level. He's played against really great competition, and he knows that he can make all the throws. So he's not putting the cart before the horse. He's literally taking this thing day by day, and he's doing a really good job right now.
I don't think you've been or have heard a Packers receiver over the last 30 years say the following: I don't think I've had a young quarterback, ... And Terry McLaurin, what's the count up? It's got to be double digits now, right, since he got here?
I go off the top of my head here. It was Keenum to start, then Haskins that year. The following year was Haskins again, then Kyle Allen, then Alex Smith, then Heineke. Mm-hmm. Okay, the following year was Fitzpatrick,
That's
back
6.
to Heineke. The guy whose first name I keep forgetting, Gilbert, when they had the COVID stuff.
The COVID
happen.
guy, one start, right?
That was that one. Then the following year was...
You're good at this. Wow.
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, right?
Heineke. Yeah. Howell. Okay, that's 9. And then last year, Howell started every game, but then he got Brissett. So that's 10 quarterbacks off the dome there. I might have missed one, but I think I got all of them.
And several are older. Brissett's older. Alex Smith is older. Yep. Fitzpatrick, way older.
Yep, right.
But again, is there a Green Bay guy who said, I haven't had a young quarter, because they've all been great and
sure.
and now looks like the third one he's about to get paid, So it's just
it's ridiculous.
You just always have to look, and hopefully we're going to turn the page on this, and I'll be willing to do that. But whenever you're talking about this team and what happened prior to the end of last season when Ron Rivera lost his job, you always have to look at it through the prism of, oh, yes, this was not really an NFL team. This was a team that had various logos over the years, various people in charge, various coaches, quarterbacks, but it didn't really operate like an NFL team.
I missed one. Colt
McCoy. How could we forget? But
got that one game in 2019.
And then he got hurt, which is what he did. Yeah. So there you go. So it was double digits, right?
Yeah, so it was 11. That's 11.
Well, but we had a couple of runs of Heineke.
Oh, no, I didn't count Heineke. Yeah, those
only
times.
once?
Yeah, I only counted him one in that one.
Okay, so here's get this, a receiver going into his 6th year who's going on his 12th quarterback. That's unbelievable.
And had 1,000 yards in every season.
Yeah, that's
that's the more ridiculous part.
So if he's all that, that's going to be great. This is on that topic as well. Okay, here you go, Terry. Here's another quarterback. Here's another coaching staff.
Human nature is always a factor in whatever you do in life, but I think I try to make a conscious choice of coming in with a new year mentality each and every year. And I think it's easy because we've had so many changes, and it's been great working with Marcus and Jayden and Jeff and Sam, everybody. Like, it's been great with working with all the quarterbacks, and I just have a mentality of not really being complacent. Like, I try to really focus on the things that I can come back better at this year, and I've been working my butt off to do that. So I think the easy thing, and when I was younger, you're like, dang, like, you just want that consistency. You know what I mean? Like, you want that something that you could depend on, but like life isn't always like that. So I've been reinvigorated because of just the energy that DQ brings into our building each and every day, and the coaches as well. Like, it's fun competing, you know what I mean? And sometimes I could get lost in the grind, but I think the reason why you make it here at this level is because you fall in love with the competition of it. And I think the competition breeds the success because that is really where the iron truly sharpens iron. So, other guys are going to make plays, but you get excited to go in there and know that the next day we're going to go right back after the defense. So for myself, I'm just looking forward to continue to grow with the quarterbacks that we have. I'm in year 6 now, which is an extreme blessing, and one of the leaders in our room, and I just try to take the bull by the horns with that. And so that's really been my focus, and I'm excited for another year.
Some might say extreme blessing would have been being drafted by Kansas City, but okay, I admire his positivity, absolutely do. And hopefully after 5 years where the best record his team had, he did play in a playoff game, amazingly, in his second year, but the best record that they've had is 8-1, right, during the 5 years. So now's the time to start winning.
You start to evaluate when I'm in year 6, and you notice how fast it goes. And I try not to put the cart before the horse or looking too far ahead, but at the same time, you do want to win, and you want to be a part of a winning culture and have a chance to win the Super Bowl and the playoffs and all those things. Like, that's why we do this personally. And I'm just excited with being a part of a organization and an environment where now, like, everybody's on the same page, and the message is uniform, and it speaks from the top down, and it reflects in the guys that they're bringing in. All the guys that they brought in are guys who are hungry, who are competitors, who not only fighting for spots, but are going to help us win games. And when you're around an environment like that makes you excited. It makes you hopeful. And, you don't know how that's going to turn out until we start playing games. But the foundation is extremely important. And I think this offseason we've really done a great job of building that. They have, and then when Coach Quinn got here, building it with this team. So I feel like we're going to be going into this offseason really knowing what we all got to do individually to become ready for camp. But the message is clear to come back to camp ready to compete and be ready to win.
And part of the message should be win one for Terry. Let's not have him end his career with only one playoff game. And maybe, what has he got? How many years does he have left on the contract? 2 or 3?
Yeah, I want to say it's 2.
Just 2, I think. Probably his exit ramp, so probably likely it's 2. So you'd like to maybe see him get an extension, but, maybe over the next 2 years they can be building enough so that heading into the following year.
Yeah,
2. Got 2 years left. So over the next 2 years, maybe because he's an aging receiver, and it's a business where, you want to, they're continuing to pump him out of college. That's the game in college, throwing. So there are receivers, but he's special. He's a guy who has endured a lot here and has never said one bad word about the team.